I'm JasonUFC, and today we have a story about Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean O'Malley, on why he would bet $10,000 on Israel Adesanya to defeat Alex Pereira at UFC 287. UFC 287 could prove to be make or break for former UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. The last style bender lost his middleweight crown to old kickboxing nemesis Alex Pereira last year at UFC 281. The defeat marked Israel Adesanya's third loss to Putan Alex Pereira across two combat sports, 0-2 in kickboxing, 0-1 in MMA. It also marked the first time Israel Adesanya has ever tasted defeat at 185 pounds in MMA. He also lost to Jan Blachowicz, right? When he went up to the light heavyweight division. Should Israel Adesanya lose at 200 at UFC 287 and go 0-4 against Alex Pereira overall, it could hamper. I'm not gonna say that. I think Israel Adesanya will come out and wrestle. Sean O'Malley says on Israel Adesanya during a recent edition of the Timbo Sugar Show on Sean O'Malley's YouTube channel. Everybody has a YouTube channel, right? Sugar Sean revealed who he bet $10,000 on for the UFC 287 main event. Despite Israel Adesanya's frequent setbacks against Alex Pereira, Sugar Sean O'Malley still believes the last style bender, Israel Adesanya can get, I guess, it done. O'Malley highlighted the grueling weight cut Alex Pereira has to undertake to reach 185 pounds. Drastic weight cuts are notorious for severely weakening fighters' chins. I don't really know. Okay. How much weight is Pereira cutting? Is he really he doesn't have to land clean too many times if he's cutting that much weight. O'Malley explained that person, Alex Pereira, cutting 20 to 25 pounds fight week. Your chin goes, your brain fluid goes. Interestingly, O'Malley can see Israel Adesanya using wrestling to slow Alex Pereira's killer stand-up. But I think Israel will come out and wrestle. I feel like he's going to come out. He's got a couple maybe good takedowns. Come out, wrestle, put him on the back, put him on his back, really get him thinking he might not be able to march forward as much. Israel's Adesanya first loss in the UFC came due to its own difficulties with wrestling and grappling at UFC 259. Then UFC light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz kept Israel Adesanya grounded thanks to his grappling skills and size advantage. Okay, it's just interesting because I would say this, much respect to Sean O'Malley. I'm an MMA casual, so I don't really know much. I don't follow the sport like that. Obviously, I follow it enough. But can Sean O'Malley give me one match where Israel Adesanya has ever won because of wrestling? Right? So it's just like, everyone is talking this, everyone is talking that, Alex Pereira is not fighting a wrestler, right? Like, we know his wrestling skills are not, the toppest of top, right? But Alex Pereira is fighting a kickboxer, right? Israel Adesanya is not a wrestler. I think he may have taken Alex Pereira down once or twice in that first fight. I don't think he's going to come out in this fight and try to take huge Alex Pereira down. It wastes a lot of energy, and then it's going to take away from his striking ability, right? He's a last style bender. I'm not going to see him go into the idea of strike, and then clinch and try to take Alex Pereira down. You saw in the clinch, it could be a problem with someone as huge as Pereira. And that's another thing that, Pereira is a big boy, right? Now, if you have a background of wrestling in the UFC middleweight division, someone like Romero or something, you know what I'm saying? He could probably easily take Pereira down, right? But Israel Adesanya is not a wrestler. It's very easy to just go out there and say, well, my opponent isn't really a great at wrestling, so I'm going to all of a sudden become this great wrestler. Israel Adesanya is not a great wrestler. You could say it, this is not Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker is going to strike with, Pereira, but he's going to take Pereira down, right? Because he can. He has the ability to take, Pereira down. I'm not going to say Israel Adesanya doesn't have the ability. Obviously, he does. But he's not a wrestler. And there's no video evidence of Israel Adesanya winning any of his UFC fights from wrestling. So the idea that, he's going to come out against someone who he is 0-3 against and just completely change his game plan, right? And try to wrestle someone. Wrestling is grueling on both people, right? Wrestling is not, it's very easy when you take someone down, right? To stay on top. That's the easy part. But asking Israel Adesanya to, basically take down someone who weighs basically as much as Jan Blachowicz weighed when they fought at UFC 259, remember? They said, Israel Adesanya had a, big problem versus Jan Blachowicz. Yeah, because, Jan Blachowicz is a big boy, right? He's a big boy, just like Alex Pereira. So the idea that Israel Adesanya is just going to change up his game plan, not really try to strike with Pereira. Israel Adesanya, he has a kickboxing background, right? I would ask Sean O'Malley just to give me one example of one fight where we could say, okay, if Israel Adesanya wrestled like that in that fight versus Pereira, he could win. But Israel Adesanya is not known for taking people down and, ground and pound and top. That's just not, that's not really his style, right? So Alex Pereira obviously got one of the greatest, matchups he could ever get. You fight someone who you're 2-0 against, when Israel Adesanya and Pereira fought the first two times, it was in kickboxing, right? So, it's almost, I can't say it's like wrestling going to kickboxing because it's a completely different sport, but, with Israel Adesanya's background in kickboxing, he's fighting someone who he already fought in kickboxing before. Maybe he could say, hey, I'm going to try to show them that this is mixed martial arts. I'm going to try to show him a little bit of wrestling, But for the most part, I think the first fight is going to go almost exactly the same. I think Pereira is going to probably be a little bit more aggressive, if not a lot more aggressive, this fight. But, everyone is making a big deal about the weight cut. Besides Pereira not making weight, when he comes in a fight night, those 20, 25 pounds he lost, he's going to gain those things. He's going to gain those pounds right back, and he's going to be a big boy come fight night versus Israel Adesanya, right? So I personally, obviously I don't have $10,000, but if I had $10,000, I would bet on Pereira, right? Pereira is the underdog. Pereira's 3-0, right? You get plus money on someone who's 3-0 versus an opponent they just beat, right? That very rarely happens. So if I had $10,000, I would bet Sean O'Malley the $10,000 and we would see who win. But just a side note before we end this video, it's interesting that Sean O'Malley is talking about this. A few months ago, UFC was going through some betting scandal, right? It kind of died down recently. But UFC, I think they forbid all fighters from betting on any MMA. I don't know if that's still true. I don't know, maybe that was a few weeks thing, but, I don't know. Sean O'Malley, he can kind of talk about whatever he wants to talk about. But I know a few months ago, it was a big thing. There was a betting scandal in the UFC, some coaches, allegedly, some fighters, allegedly. There's a lot of things going on there. So I don't know if Sean O'Malley could actually even make this bet for $10,000 on Israel Adesanya. But if I had $10,000, I would bet Sean O'Malley $10,000 that Pereira would win. Let me know your opinion of this story. Who do you agree with? Who do you think is going to win? Who would you put $10,000 on? Israel Adesanya, former UFC middleweight champion, versus the current reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the world, middleweight champion of the world, Alex Pereira. I'm putting my money on Alex Pereira. I'm JasonUFC, and today we had a story about Sugar Sean O'Malley says he would bet $10,000 on Israel Adesanya to defeat Alex Pereira at UFC 287. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.